all my shit cut off.
Wow. And I took my phone off the Wi-Fi yesterday because it kept cutting out too.
Okay, Blog Talk's still going. Alright, back to it. Alright, fuckers on all the streams, we have returned with the exact same story we were already fucking covering. Go ahead and make an internal recording there. Alright. And so for the folks listening to podcast audio, we just had to deal with the live video streams breaking with the Wi-Fi, and just noting that the this Simshasu area that we're noting is a shopping and nightlife district in Kowloon, in Hong Kong. All right, so police fraud on overtime out there as well. All right, so you can just you can totally get jazzed about that and about this.
Focused on 9 Boston police officers. Prosecutors say they made thousands of dollars in overtime that they didn't actually work. NBC 10's Eli Rosenberg joins us live from Boston now with a reaction to this tonight, Eli.
Well, tonight, Shannon, the mayor says he is outraged over all of this. According to federal prosecutors, these 9 former and current police officers lied about their overtime shifts while working in BPD's evidence warehouse. These prosecutors say their time slip said one thing, the building's alarm system, though, said another. One by one.
Did you say anything about the charges today?
The 9 current and former Boston police officers charged with wasting time leaving federal court.
I don't say anything at all. Go away from me. No, please.
Federal is alleged starting in May.
Don't tase me, bro.
Overtime not deeps. According to the system, giving them away, showing the lockdown hours during the time these officers claimed they were working overtime. Federal prosecutors saying overtime about $200,000.
I think this particular case or cases really require us to put into accountability.
Calling all very troubling. And District Attorney Rachel Rawlings, she was dismayed. The Monique is now in question.
Today said any if in would be put into question to that.
The timing of this could not have been worse. In the middle of a national dialogue about police funding and whether these funds add or inadequate or such happen.
Now, after court hearings this afternoon and evening, the judge did release all 9 of those 9 who walked out of the front door here on federal courthouse. Right there, didn't have anything to say. The judge for next month convicted of they face 15 years in. Boston, Rosenberg, NBC, Boston.
Some old Indian thing. Well, I don't know much about Indians or tools. If I had to guess, I'd say you jam the hole, twist the handle like blood runs out the hip. Yep, that's what.
Who in a leadership capacity allowed this to happen?
An investigation into the Independence Police Department now underway after the city learned a police officer logged thousands of hours of overtime for non-police related work. Yes, HB 4119 reporter Jessica McMaster details of this throughout the day. She's live outside the police department. What else have you looked at this investigation?
Kevin, today, an officer made more than $100,000 in overtime and won its work paid for by the people who live here in Independence and has never have been approved.
Let's note that the McMaster here doing this news did not her heart.
Yep.
About this organizational culture within the police department. Anybody think this was permissible?
Independent City Manager Walker says a city officer worked thousands of hours of overtime. The officer is paid to serve the community. Instead, he's been doing construction work on the city's detention center. The I-team obtained a copy of an audit that details the work. The officer says the work Chief Halsley, Brad Hawley, led department in the...
This new adding in the detention cells, painting, carpentry work of that.
The officer in question logged 2,800 hours overtime, running up at least $106,000 in extra pay, according to Walker.
Not any kind of law enforcement act. Was not responding to calls, solving crime, helping a community member. That's really disappointing to me.
In overtime and regular pay, that made more than $200,000 last alone.
We only know about work in 2021. The more we continue to look, it may have carried on prior to
Walker says maintenance staff could have done the job on the clock for the cost of only the materials.
That one employee taking home over $200,000 a year in salary and overtime is not being a good steward of the public dollar and letting the community down.
Asked Walker how this went on for...
I'm supposed to just be letting these play through that language before. A steward of a public dollar heard before?
Not in terms of public dollar in that way, no.
Ooh, right, I'm rushing the decibels. Okay,
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, holy yeah. Okay, new language. Keep going, man. This is all just because I looked at Phoenix Leader's show notes and I said, I wonder if I can find some precedents.
So long without being flagged, he admits the finance department did notice the overtime and thought it was an error, but was given the green light by someone within the department.
I don't think they felt like they had the authority to elevate that.
Yes?
Because when you said an error, she was saying, but they were given the green light, and I want to hear by who.
Oh. Yeah, and before you got down here, like, Olivia was, like, watching me do show prep, and, like, another one, it was a previous one that we already played in the lineup, and it was like, oh, you know, it just looks like a mistake, you know? And then the other cop came on, and he's like, I don't believe this nigga, man. Like, even the other white man was like, no, he's acting less white and more blue. Like, come back to the white side, brother.
Not being a good steward of the public dollar and is letting this community down.
We asked Walker how this went on for so long without being flagged. He admits the finance department did notice the overtime and thought it was an error, but was given the green light by someone within the department.
I don't think they felt like they had the authority to elevate that either to their supervisors.
The finance department's failure to flag the issue outside the police department, a problem Walker says needs to be addressed. A source close to the investigation tells us.
This is why people make conspiracy theories. Who the fuck is someone? You can fill in someone with Jews real quick.
Right.
Global in it. Or just the nay of conspiracy theory.
Venus, the socialist, Antifa.
Yeah, like somebody with a more expensive suit than the man currently on screen made that decision. Who is that nigga?
Mm-hmm.
Thus, a sergeant and captain signed off on the overtime. Walker says the city will hire an outside firm to conduct an audit on the department's finances.
Right, I was saying too, which outside firm? Who?
My first thought was, who pays for that though? Because we already paid all this overtime to cops who didn't work. Who pays for the audit? Is that also a taxpayer-funded thing? Or are y'all taking it out of their pension plans?
Looks like you get no policeman's ball, huh? This year. That's something that you pay for now, because you're a worker now. Your taxes pay for police to have a party every year. Yep. Welcome to it.
Freedom.
That's me talking to my niece because we're not on video right now.
Freedom.
That's ridiculous.
This is the stuff I was not allowed to tell you when you were growing up.
We're told this began under former police chief Brad Halsey, but continued after he was gone. The officer in question is still on duty tonight. We're told that while city manager can take action against him, he's waiting until the completion of that audit. For now, we are live in Independence. For the I-Team, I'm Jessica McMaster, KSHB 41 News.
Wait, I want to know what that black man was about to say. He was back. He wasn't buying something.
He's like,
right?
Oh yeah, because they're listening.
If they're looking like Keith David.
It was probably that somebody. Somebody approved it. Who the fuck is somebody?
It sounds like they're all working in cahoots together, right?
It
like
does. It really does.
I like that. I like that you said cahoots in general.
Cahoots.
Yeah. Right? It's not. It's like she said an old lady word.
It's one of those like.
She grew up in the South, man.
Cahoots.
It's like 1930s in cahoots with the bootleggers.
Yeah.
All right. It seems like it would be over.
At various times in recent years, Baltimore police have operated 12-hour shifts, an attempt to tamp down crime. But members of the elite gun trace task force only made it look like they were working, federal prosecutors say, when in fact they were at home or out of town.
I love that the B-roll while they do that is him bothering some black man.
To make it look like they were working.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, every time they're doing that, that is just having fun. They're just bullying.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Detective Daniel Herschel, set to go to trial next week in the far-reaching police corruption case, falsely claimed to have worked a mandatory 12-hour shift on July 23rd, 2016, prosecutors.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
About you lie and say it's mandatory? That means you're preemptively lying on your boss, too. That's on your boss.
They have to all be working together.
But also the fact that it's, because what would happen to any other worker if you lied about going to a mandatory shift?
You're fired.
Any other worker, any other industry. outside of politics and police.
Jesus. Real comfortable.
Herschel was in Bel Air, outside Baltimore City.
Oh, he was out there being a Fresh Prince. I'm supposed to be letting these play through. God damn it.
When actually, Herschel was in Bel Air, outside Baltimore City, and Canton in the evening. And Detective Marcus Taylor, also headed for trial, falsely claimed to have worked a
Yeah, all my racial bias goes out the window when you become a blue life.
Yep.
It all goes out the window. You're not brother anymore. You're sir. You're sir with that tone.
Sir.
Am I being detained, sir?
mandatory 12-hour shift at the same time, prosecutors say, when in fact, he was in New York City on vacation. The high cost of police overtime has long been a frustration.
That's even more disrespectful. Like
niggas in Paris, I guess, man.
Of some in City Hall. Last year, on the heels of indictments in the corruption case, Mayor Catherine Pugh ordered a forensic audit of police overtime. At that time, it was running $1.6 million every 2 weeks.
We cannot afford
$1.6 million every 2 weeks. I like math. Hey Siri. Can you open the calculator? All right, so 1.6 million every 2 weeks is 52 weeks in a year.
Yep.
So we're talking 26 times.
Or just twice a month.
Let me see, 26 times, what did I say?
1.2 or 1.6?
1.6.
1.6 million.
26 times 1.6. Okay, how many zeros do I need to get to the million? Oh wait, I messed that one up. Damn it, I don't do the points well.
Just
That's
ask Siri.
Ah, yeah, huh? Hey Siri. Uh-huh. What is 26 times 1.6 million?
26 times 1,600,000 is
$41,600,000 went out of the city budget into the police pocket.
And I bet you that doesn't even account for all of it, because I bet you there were spikes throughout the year during holiday weekends, right? 4th of July weekend, all the drunk driving stops, right? All the extra stuff around the holidays, right? New Year's Eve, all the extra traffic stops. So I bet you it's even higher than that because it doesn't account for holiday spikes.
Oh God, bonuses, workman's comp, work person's comp for when they crash their cars, because that's the main way they get injured and die.
Well,
Holy
it's
shit.
COVID now. COVID's doing its job.
COVID's doing it. Life insurance policies.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And that, so 41, an ass load of money on top. God damn.
God.
All right. Back to this jaded black woman that you see on screen. God damn. I get it. She's just trying to, can I just get to my social security checks and my plants? Plants and cats. I see it on her face. She just wants to water her plants and pet her cats. She knows this is what they do. She's always known. Like that, she's a boomer, I guarantee you. Like, she's too old to be Gen X. She's an old black boomer. She was born in Jim Crow, and she's bored with this shit, man. Because, like, I guarantee you she's around your grandmother's age. Here, I challenge you to look it up. Let's see. Her name will come up.
Time, it was running $1.6 million every 2 weeks.
We cannot afford $40 million in overtime. We just can't afford it.
In fact,
I didn't say her name. She said we just can't afford it. Doesn't she come up earlier in the reporting?
Did she say the 41 million too?
She said 40 million. She did she rounded it.
Last year, on the heels of, in fact, he was in New York City on vacation. The high cost of police overtime has long been a frustration of some in City Hall. Last year, on the heels of indictments in the corruption case, Mayor Catherine Pugh ordered a forensic
Mayor Catherine Pugh, age.
audit of police overtime. At that time, it was running $1.6 million every 2 weeks.
We cannot afford $40 million in overtime. We just can't afford it.
In fact, the current overtime pace is even higher.
Oh, wow.
Fueled by the...
What year did this? Was this the newest one?
No, this is from like 2018. Let's
Oh,
see.
okay.
Let me check. Well, this is the wine cellar, right? I don't just say like. Yeah, this report is from January 16th, 2018.
Oh, well,
Damn, we were still in the first department together.
Wow. Yeah,
While
that was
they
a long
were
time
stealing
ago.
money. But she's 71.
71. Yep. 71. So what year is she born, it says?
She was born 1950.
Yep, and your grandmother was born in 1958. Yeah, so she was born, like, she was a teenager in Jim Crow. Like, she knows this is what white people do.
Right.
She's like, damn, 71, so she actually just likes doing her job.
Mm-hmm.
She likes being mayor, yeah, because she could be retired.
Yeah, she's probably one of those black women who's like, no, nobody else is gonna. Fine, I got it.
Yeah. Shit. Shit, she looks like she's gonna make like 105 years old, hell.
The intense investigation of the fatal shooting of Detective Sean Suter in November, the city's paid out an average $2 million every 2 weeks in police overtime, July through December. Tonight.
So actually, way more than 41 million.
Right? But then what did they say? July through December. So all the holidays,
Yeah.
which is exactly. Mm-mm.
And that's what I point out to you when we're in the factory and like we see like the electricians, contract workers, and it's like, wait, why are they working 4th of July? They want to. They want this way more than they want a burger. A burger and a beer and some fireworks, fuck all that. They're literally making like $300 today.
Yep.
Tonight we have asked City Hall for an update on that forensic audit, which again has been going on since about last June. We have received no answer. Now that new hire...
It actually looks like it hurts to not have lips. Doesn't that shit look like it hurts?
A bit of pressure, like with this part and that part touching each other.
Yeah. It looks like it's stretched out. I don't know. Fine. Whatever. Evolution.
Tech system, that biometric system, the department tells us will involve using fingerprints for officers to clock in.
Oh, and then what's going to happen? 2 years later, they fingerprint officers to clock in, and now all the officers get a check in a class action lawsuit because they're going to misuse the fingerprints. I got a $1,000 check a couple years ago for a class action lawsuit for misusing fingerprints to clock in.
And then what happens after that?
Then what?
After the fingerprints have been misused, they're no longer admissible for court evidence, so anything that you did have these cops on that involve their fingerprints, they can no longer be charged with.
So all of a sudden, they're going to be cool with testing rape kits.
Weird.
That's going to be a little farther, but yeah.
Reporting live tonight from downtown, I'm Jane Miller, WBAL TV 11 News.
Yeah, it's very good stuff happening here. All right, there's another one. So I had to get down to the part of this article where it's criminal fraud scheme. This is on the Beachcomber News. And this article just says published by admin October 10th, 2019 on Beachcomber. I've never seen this before, but it's Long Beach, California. And at the criminal fraud scheme point of the article, the jail personnel concluded their open letter by exposing an ongoing criminal conspiracy condemned and practiced by top-ranking LBPD, Long Beach Police Department, administrative personnel to commit overtime fraud. The employees alleged that the fraudulent scheme was designed and put into practice by Sergeant Luis Perez and approved by Tom Burns. Burns is Behrens, the civilian jail administrator to whom Perez reported. The letter stated that when Sergeant Perez tried to involve several subordinate sergeants in his overtime scheme, they told him, quote, no, that the scheme was fraud and they were not going to be part of it, end quote. The open message continued, quote, that's the reason some of the booking sergeants retired, because of all the nonsense and fraud that was going on. They said they wanted no part of it and that they were all honest throughout their careers and that the overtime scheme was stealing from the city. I don't believe that this makes them good cops. I believe that this makes them like, they just don't want to do this thing. Right? They're like, I just want to get to my retirement without that particular shit.
I don't even believe they said all that, honestly.
Damn.
No, Sergeant, we should not do that. That
Yeah,
is bad and against the law. Like,
sounds too moral oral.
Too moral oral. And also, this was, like, I don't know. I just feel like if they were that serious about it, they'd be more public about outing bad cops then. Like,
Yeah.
where's their, like, website? Like, where's their, you know what I mean?
You
Like,
know what?
where's their
Yeah.
Twitter that's, like, telling us all these, you know, all the shit they've seen? Like, I don't know.
They probably already, like, it takes 5 minutes of research to see it doesn't work. Like, the overtime thing, they're all getting caught. It's not like a new thing.
Right, that's
like,
actually what I think happened is they were presented with the idea. It didn't sound foolproof enough, so they didn't do it. If you were to ask me what happened, that would be what I would think had happened.
Yeah. And it's the Long Beach Police Department, so I guess, yeah, Snoop Dogg's first song was not, and it's puppies and flowers for an undercover cop. Yeah, and you don't stop. I send holiday cards to an undercover cop. No, I don't think that's what he said.
That's not what he said.
He said something else. All right, last one. One more, and that's it. It's literally like this whole episode's been a break so far to lead to one story of new overtime fraud. But I guess we're just saying this is normal.
Yeah.
This is how it is. City
Right.
to city, state to state. The police are frauding you. They're
Right.
charging the shit out of you. Like, take just a portion of what they're frauding you for, and potholes cease to exist.
Yeah, I mean, one, ACAB all day, but two, I do think it is actually important to put this into like sort of like the historical context, because keep in mind we've also been covering the opposite side of this, which is a bunch of outlets now. Was it like CVS and what was it, Walgreens, that are saying we have to close down stores because of shoplifting. Fucking Al Sharpton was just on Morning Joe. Yeah, it was just on Morning Joe complaining about people stealing steak. Like, but here we are. Was it $2 million every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Right?
Talk about that thief.
Talk about that thief, but also y'all are trying to convince people that there's this crime epidemic that's happening, so police need even more funding. We can't defund them, but this is what they're doing with the funding. Who's benefiting? Who's getting this money? Who is this helping? Well, like, what is actually happening? Because you can't convince me that we need more police to stop shoplifting when the police aren't even working when they're working, right? So I you know, this should be part of that conversation too, because that's what's happening right now is ramp up police budgets because of shoplifters, and CVS is losing money and this and that and the other, and we have police doing this. I'm sure Rachel Maddow's about to cover it though, like right now, like today.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be her next episode.
And funny thing, you said historical context. The oldest story here is 2018.
I could find older ones if we need to.
Oh yeah, but like you don't even have to go far. You don't have to go
No,
anywhere.
you don't. You really don't.
Just go to the next town.
Yeah. Well.
It continues as we learn more about his disciplinary history.
Body camera footage shows Sergeant Drew Young making inappropriate comments about his female colleagues. Bianca Bono joins us live, and Bianca.
Okay, they just said that the and I'm gonna bring these decibels up here. That they got body cam footage of this officer Drew Young saying some interesting things about female colleagues. My microphone's going off so I can pump up the volume bass.
Okay, this isn't the first time that he's been in trouble.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. He has a long history of internal affairs investigations and has even been recommended for termination 3 times. But instead, he was promoted. Mesa Police Sergeant Drew Young suspended for 80 hours without pay and given a 1-year probation for talking about his female police colleagues like this.
I didn't know that she played for the other team. She actually looks kind of girly.
Flipping my microphone back on for time for podcast audio listeners. She's saying, and I'm using the D word here, she's got a dick bigger than mine. The way her mouth looks makes me want to slap the shit out of her. And I didn't know she plays for the other team. She looks kind of girly. All right, microphone back off.
Mesa Police declining 12 News' repeated interview requests, writing in an email that Young had 3 years of positive reviews in his file, but not acknowledging Young's lengthy history of internal affairs investigations, including recent years.
I would blame the organization before I would blame the officer.
The I-Team, learning this conversation caught on camera, was far from Young's first time in trouble. In fact, it's at least his 21st, dating back to 2008, 3 years after he was hired. Records obtained by 12 News show Young was criminally investigated for submitting fraudulent overtime requests. Prosecution was declined, but he was investigated internally, where police staff also accused Young of failing to complete a rape report, failing to complete an armed robbery report, among a number of other violations. This is the first time Young is recommended for termination. Instead, he was suspended for 2 days. And the internal affairs investigations kept coming. In 2014, Young's most severe penalty of his career, after he had a picture of a suicide victim on his personal phone, which investigators found he showed to colleagues and family members. He was suspended for 240 hours and given a 1-year probation, despite a commander recommending termination again. From 2015 to 2016, investigation after investigation. Then Chief John Meza writing he was calling into question whether Officer Young has the necessary skills and intellectual maturity to perform as a Mesa police officer. For a third time, termination was recommended, which again didn't happen. Instead, Young was put on probation for a year.
I don't know who this person's fairy godmother is, but I think there has to be one. Or you have a department that condones this.
In 2019, Young was given verbal counseling for leaving an inappropriate comment on a new officer's Facebook post. Months later, in January of 2020, Officer Young was promoted to sergeant.
He'd been recommended for termination 3 times prior to his promotion, which is the part that I think is so abnormal.
Just 6 months after that promotion,
Have you seen her Facebook pictures? I mean, I wouldn't turn it down.
he's recorded making comments like these.
I've heard she's one of the few females that looks better in uniform than she does out of uniform.
Experts shifting their focus to police department culture, wondering why repeated violations were allowed to happen.
I don't know what's going on there at that department.
Mesa community advocate Pastor Andre Miller has concerns too.
They have a history of, a slap on the wrist, probation, and, walk a line. Then after a few years, it falls off, and then you can go back to your malfeasance or bad behaviors again.
The Mesa police chief declined multiple interview requests to discuss Sergeant Drew Young and the department's decision-making process. But the city manager and council oversee the police department, so the I-Team turned to those leaders.
After declining to speak with us multiple times via email, we decided to show up here to City Council to try and speak with the city manager, but he avoided us and walked out of the meeting before it was over.
When you reach out to people who are supposed to represent me, it's horrible that they give you silence and don't give you an answer. Because not only do the news you want to know, but I live here in the community. I want to know what they think.
And we want to point out that it was whistleblowers in Mesa that brought this case to our attention. And they, along with many others, have pointed out there are a ton of really great people and police officers in Mesa, including those who brought this to us and want to see some change.
And Bianca, after last night's story, we had some people commenting that this was just locker room talk. What are police leaders saying about that?
Experts point out that this kind of talk would likely be considered harassment in other workplaces as well, especially when you look at his history. They really consider this type of behavior to be a red flag.
All right, Bianca, thanks.
Our microphones are back on. Right, it just, I had to have the main volume up so loud. Anything we would have said would have just fucking broke the decibels in half.
Yeah.
All right. And now Phoenix Calida has the funky stuff. the news story that, like, all the, we're not going to be the only lefties to cover this. This is going to be a big story. Young Turks is going to hit it. David Dole is going to hit it. David Pakman might. He only does an hour show every day. Vosh is going to talk about it. Vosh is a fake me. I see him as a fake me. He's such a fake. He's a fake ass William that will pander to Nazis all day.
Pander to Nazis?
He does. When you say to a black person, I hope you don't make any white sundown towns, who are you pandering to?
Yeah, that's Nazis.
Vosh panders to Nazis.
Oh.
Yeah, so major fake me.
Right. All right, so here we go. As we're talking about police being good cops, And in Oakland, California, dozens of current and former highway patrol officers, what do they call them, CHPs? Right? California Highway Patrol?
Yeah, CHPs.
Yeah. Didn't actually used to be CHIPs, though, CHIP? Interstate or something?
Ooh, I
Highway
don't know
Interstate
that one.
Patrol? Because it was a TV show
Okay,
about
yeah, I'd
about
be
these.
speaking out of class if I tried.
Yeah, all right. So dozens of current and former highway patrol officers have been charged with racking up more than $226,000 in phony hours in an overtime fraud scheme, according to California's Attorney General. The charges were announced Thursday and stem from a criminal investigation of officers in the East Los Angeles station. Between 2016 and mid-2018, 54 officers recorded hours of phony overtime while patrolling high-occupancy traffic lanes or providing protection to state transportation workers in construction zones. So again, I keep hearing that it's just a few bad apples thing. 54? That's a lot of bad apples. I'm just saying. So the alleged offenses, wait, who is this quote from? Sorry, I guess this is from a prosecutor. They have a quote, the alleged offenses were not discovered earlier because the supervisors who would have been the ones to report these activities were also committing the fraud. This is in the felony complaint. So moreover, the fraud typically took place during graveyard hours, which was outside the normal working hours of office managers. So also, not only are they, being so dishonest that they're ripping taxpayers off, they're also like intentionally doing it and being extra sneaky. That's why they're doing it at 2 a.m., right? Very well planned out, kind of.
Sort of.
Kind of. I mean, they're cops, and they can only be so smart.
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
Officers who are still with the agency and under investigation by the Department of Justice have been placed on administrative time off, so not fired, and have had their peace officer powers removed. Have you had their guns removed? I don't know if that's part of that. Hope it is. And that is according to a department spokesman, Officer Jose Barrios. As a professional law enforcement agency which holds its employees to the highest of standards, okay, the CHP takes all allegations of misconduct seriously. The CHP uncovered the overtime fraud in East Los Angeles several years ago during an internal examination. Which also, can we talk about when police finally do find themselves guilty of something? Why does it take so long for these investigations?
Yeah, their investigations will be years long.
Years.
What? That's how much effort they're putting in.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
You want it done fast or you want it done right?
I would just like it done at all. In any capacity.
You just want it done.
Yes, queen. Go off, girl boss. Pussy hat slay.
It's true. So charges were filed earlier this month, and the officers were booked by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department this week, according to a statement from the Attorney General's office. Trust is a critical part of successful law enforcement, says Attorney General Rob Bonta. These defendants disregarded the law through their alleged actions and did so without the thought of how their conduct would impact the California Highway Patrol or the community that trusted them to protect and serve. The Highway Patrol said in 2019 it had temporarily relieved dozens of officers from duty while it investigated whether they had billed the state for hundreds of hours of suspected overtime, costing $360,000. Also the fact that if you have to relieve that many people of duty because you don't know if they did it or not, how much do you not trust your workforce? That's a little wild to me.
Yeah.
Homie, don't play that game no more.
They said at the time that the abuse seemed to be isolated to officers covering the Los Angeles area and that the agency had changed its overtime practices in response. I guess. So that's what's going on. I hope all you fucking taxpayers are happy with how your tax money is being spent.
So what is it different for each police officer, what's overtime for them? Or
It's after a certain amount of hours.
How much is it for police officers?
What is overtime?
Yeah.
Anything after 40 hours.
Oh, okay. So it's the same.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
But then also you have to keep in mind they get extra shit because it's not shift work, but they work in shifts. And so like, you know, so you get like your extra bonus if you're doing like overnights, if you're doing holidays. You can really rack up if you're like on overtime and it's a holiday. So like, you know, if like, so like Easter Sunday, right? Easter's always on a Sunday. Typically for most places you'll get holiday pay. So if you're already at your 40 hours for your week and now you're working the weekend and now you're getting the weekend holiday pay, it's really easy to cash in on that. Yeah.
Not gonna lie, son, that's gangster as fuck.
They are the original gangsters.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there. Good times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so just waiting for more updates.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens if anyone's convicted, but I don't know.
Well, they'll get, probation?
Probably. Yeah, because they said you get, like, up to 12 years. I don't think anyone's going to get more than 2.
Yeah, up
and
to 12.
2 is pushing it.
It's the up to 12 years for cops is like up to $20 an hour at this job for workers. We pay up to $20 an hour, earn up to $2,000 a week.
That's exactly how it goes. So we'll see what happens. But you know, like I said, it's just worth noting to me that while we're on this, people are stealing steaks. CVS is closing because people are shoplifting toothpaste. That this is actually where taxpayer money is going. So yeah.
Ridiculous.
And stuff.
And I think that about covers it. All right, live streamers, Facebook, YouTubers, Twitchers. Who the fuck is tuning into me on Twitch?
I don't know.
It's like my third broadcast there, and I'm not. I don't think I'm probably even putting in the types of keywords or hashtags that even get your shit traction, right? Yeah, let's see if I can find time to learn about Twitch.